Good afternoon, Las Vegas. Welcome to Live Unleashed, and thank you for everybody joining us around the world on the internet, listening to the streaming live. I'm your host, Kevin Lepine, also the star of Hypnosis Unleashed here in Las Vegas. And as always, all first responders here in Las Vegas, all local military, local police, firefighters, EMTs, you guys always get free tickets to my show, Hypnosis Unleashed. I appreciate everything you do for me and for the community. All national first responders get a ticket for only $12. Our normal ticket prices are, of course, $48, but all Nevada locals also get half off on that. We'd love to see you at the show, Hypnosis Unleashed. It is 21 and over. Come and join us for a really, really fun night. We've had a great couple of weeks, and we're looking forward to it continuing. And in a few minutes, we will be joined by a very, very special guest. In a few minutes, Earl Chaney will be joining us. A lot to talk about with him. And, of course, at the bottom of the hour, William Arundel will be joining us as well. And we always like to start off here at Live Unleashed by talking about, just things that you can do to release negativity, things that you can do to unshackle your life, and really use to look forward in a positive manner. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was actually a line that I got exposed to from Louis C.K.'s show, Louis. And I'm sure that he probably didn't come up with this line. I'm sure it came from somewhere else. But the more I've thought about this line, the more it's been resonating in my head. And the line was, he was talking to his daughter because one of his other daughters got something and she didn't, and she was complaining about it not being fair, that somebody had something she didn't. And Louis' line, as he looked at his daughter, was very simply put, that the only reason you ever look in your neighbor's bowl is to make sure they have enough, never to make sure that you have the same as them. You're not supposed to have the same as other people. Everybody's going to have something differently. We're all told that life isn't fair, which isn't true all the time. Life is as fair as you want to work for it. As hard as you want to work to make something happen. It's another old cliche that you don't get everything you work for, but you will work for everything you get. But you can't base your accomplishments off of what other people have. And the last thing you want to do is live your life angry at yourself because you feel that your neighbor has something more. You don't live their life. You don't do necessarily what they do. And I'm sure in certain ways, if you really examine your life, you have things that another person doesn't as well. You never judge your life by what other people have. You're setting yourself up for failure. One of the greatest moments in my life was when I decided it was time to stop watching pretty much anything on MTV. When I realized that the show MTV Cribs were showing people who had stuff that I didn't really even want. But yet these shows tell you you're supposed to have all this stuff. And I quickly came to the realization that that stuff didn't make me happy. That these people were successful didn't affect me. My goal was to live my life, to accomplish the dreams I wanted, and to have my goals for myself. And the worst thing you can ever do to your goal is to compare that goal to somebody else. You don't work side by side, hand in hand with that person to know what they've had to go through to achieve the things they've had. If you only look at your neighbor to make sure that they have enough, if you only look at your neighbor to look at them and go, is there something I can help them with? You'll find that you'll lose the shackles of jealousy, you'll lose the shackles of resentment for other people, and you'll have the ability to take more joy in your own personal life and your day-to-day activities. And when you look at that, you can really, really start enjoying the things you have. We're going to take a short 2-minute break. We're going to come back with our guest, Earl Chaney. Thank you for joining us on Live Unleashed.
And now, another film rental discovery.
Welcome to the Indie Film Minute. Can a voice be so big, a passion for creation so great, that stardom would only get in the way? 20 Feet from Stardom tells the story of background singers who weave their magic 20 feet behind the big-time stars who get all the credit. Here at last are the voices who have enriched our lives without our ever knowing their names. Did you know that the talented Crystals didn't sing their hit song, He's a Rebel? That was Darlene Love, background singer extraordinaire and uncredited ghost singer of many hits. We also learn here that one of the most famous vocal riffs in rock and roll history was sung by Mary Clayton, awakened late one night by her manager, looking for a singer to belt out a powerful hook for a bunch of boys from England who turned out to be the Rolling Stones. In fact, the film suggests that the most memorable riffs in the soundtracks of our lives were likely invented by background singers. Sound preposterous? Trust us. You'll want to see this tightly woven and informative documentary. Its entertainment value is reward enough, but the bonus is an introduction to talent that deserves way more credit than has ever been awarded them. Up to now. 20 Feet from Stardom. Not in theaters. Discovery through rental.
This is Kevin Lepine with Live Unleashed every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Come and join us for an hour of learning how to live your life unleashed, free from negativity. Learn about local events that are happening, hear interviews with local celebrities, as well as how people have accomplished their dreams and have left behind negative behavior to live the life they want to live. Every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m., join me and therapist William Arundel for an hour of living unleashed.
Tuesday nights are too fast for T-Bone Tuesdays at Gene Wood's Racing Experience. That's right. It's time to go racing. Go-kart racing, that is. Come out and rub fenders with the Jelly Girls and take out the Jelly Cruise 7 to 9 p.m. every Tuesday night. Win great prizes and see if you can make it to the championship race. Mention this ad and get $5 off your racing experience. This fast course has bank corners, hairpin turns, and the fastest cars in town. The Gene Wood's Racing Experience is located at 121 East Sunset Road, just across the street from the airport runway. The Jelly Crew is waiting to take you on. And just remember, do you have the need for speed? Well, then feed your need at Gene Wood's Racing Experience.
Hello, Las Vegas from Hypnosis Unleashed. All Las Vegas locals get half off every night at the show, Tuesday through Sunday, 8 p.m. Come and join us for Las Vegas's wildest hypnosis show. Watch your friends get turned into rock stars, watch them do the craziest things, or come and be hypnotized yourself. This show has won all the awards here in Las Vegas, and we want to show you why. Come join us every Tuesday through Sunday night. VegasHypnosisShow.com for more details. That's VegasHypnosisShow.com. Welcome back to Live Unleashed. I am really excited to be welcoming our guest. I'm not going to talk too much about his history right now because there's so much that I'm going to want to talk with him about. He is somebody who I truly consider to be in a very rare club, which is something I call the Million Mile Club. This is a guy who has put the time out there on the road, who has seen pretty much every nook and cranny that you can, and has truly accomplished so many different things. I'm so proud to have him on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have not had the pleasure to meet him, and maybe you just haven't actually known who he was, but you've probably seen him at some point in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Earl Chaney. Earl, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Kevin, and thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, we're going to start off with some of the bigger things that you've done, and then we're going to kind of talk about how you've gotten there. But I just want to start off by touching on two big points here.
Okay.
Which is you're a Hall of Famer in the Ringling Brothers Clown Hall of Fame.
Well, it's not Ringling Brothers. It's the International Clown Hall of Fame.
Okay,
which
and
makes it even bigger.
And now you were with Ringling Brothers for how long?
7 years.
And toured all over the world with them.
Toured every major city in this country and Canada. In those days, we still touring Canada. We had at that point we wasn't going to Europe anymore. They do now because they were never successful. But I have worked all over the world with different circuses. Yes.
And then I'm just going to throw this name out there really quickly, and that is Ronald McDonald.
Oh, Ronald McDonald, yeah. I did him too. 20 years with Ray Kroc and McDonald's Corporation. And so, yeah, that was an exciting part of my life. And probably the biggest center ring clown thing I ever did in my career was Ronald.
And so, I mean, now we're talking to Earl, who you toured for 7 years with Ringling Brothers. So, I mean, undoubtedly, after 7 years, I would say that easily 1 million people.
Oh, wait.
Easily.
18,000 people usually per show. 2 shows a day, 3 shows on Saturdays, 7 days a week without a day off for 7 years. Only travel days.
And you look at that, I mean, just the amount of people who were exposed to you, the amount of people you got to work with and work around, and then 20 plus years as Ronald.
As Ronald, and then Mr. Clown, my character, which I created on Ringling. Absolutely thousands of birthday parties. I've been here permanently since 1976, and I did birthday parties, stage show, everything you can think of, plus as Mr. Clown.
Earl once used a sentence around me, and I was very confused because I didn't understand it at first. And what Earl had said was that him and his friends were performing at the Garden, to which my response was, well, whose garden? I thought this was a private event, to which you explained it was
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, and at that point, my eyes, I think, got bigger than saucer plates.
Well, and it was, yeah, and I've used that with a lot of people I've met that came to see us. I'm talking about major stars. Mary Wilson, in fact, here, not that, a year or so ago, I went up and introduced myself again and said, I didn't tell her what I was doing there. I said, the last time I saw you, you came to see me at Madison Square Garden. And she looked back and said, what? And she said, who are you? but, yeah, we worked. In the old days, in the 70s, early 70s, we worked 11 weeks in Madison Square Garden. 2 shows a day, 3 shows on Saturday, the whole 11 weeks without a day off.
Now, let's go to, it is probably 3 months before you started your clowning career.
Oh, okay.
And what were you doing at that point?
That was in Oklahoma City, which is where I was born and raised. And I owned private clubs. And I was a numismaticist, which is a coin collector, a coin dealer. So I had a coin shop, and I had 5 clubs I was running. But I'd always wanted to be, I was always an entrepreneur, I guess, since I was really young, because I got married my first time when I was 16, 2 days over 16. So I guess when you're that young and start a family, you have to be an entrepreneur. So I always did a lot of things. I always had, and you said it earlier when you just started talking about dreaming, and dreaming is the biggest thing all of us can do. But those dreams, all of them can come true with anyone if they work hard and want to do it. So I worked hard as a youngster. I was a carpenter and everything to survive and take care of my kids, because I had a son before I turned 17, and on and on and on. I've had a lot of children and a lot of wives too. But I owned the clubs, but I always wanted to be a clown ever since I was 6 years old. And in 1967, they started talking about Clown College, and it started in 1968. And I saw it in National Geographic, and I was overwhelmed, just like you was talking about Madison Square Garden, which was a dream, of course. But so I decided I would apply. Now they didn't have anybody that, now they go to different cities and audition, but they didn't have auditions in Oklahoma City because they didn't, I don't guess they felt like clowns could come from Oklahoma. But so I applied, sent off for an application, got one, and filled it out, sent it back, and that was in 1969, and didn't get any response. So I figured that, but I was busy, and I was opening up another private club at that time, and so I figured they threw it in the garbage, and then I went to Shepherd Mall, which was a big mall in those days in Oklahoma City, and I saw Advanced Clown, which became not only one of my partners for more than 40 years, but he was Button's Leon McBride, 6'8", massive 350-pound man that was an incredible clown that did advanced work for him. He did it because he was so big he couldn't be in the circus. There was not room on a train for a man that size. So I stood in the back by a pillar and watched this little show because he'd do little 20-minute shows. And I watched him, and I went up and told him that I wanted to be a clown more than anything in the world. And he gave me another application. I spent 2 weeks this time with friends of mine to make sure the questions were answered right. And not to be joking, because clowning is a serious business, even though it's all fun. But so I filled it out, and Bill Ballantyne called me, which was the director of Clown College in 1972. And he told me it was in the finals. And he said, but we know you're making money, and there's no money on the Ringling Show. And I said, I don't care. You know, I have enough money that I can come and spend 5 years and you don't have to pay me at all. He said, that's exactly what we want to hear. Come on down to Florida.
So I mean, now just this mindset, I want to talk about for a second. You've got these clubs that you're running, that you own, that you've got a fantastic living. I mean, really, you could have done just that. You could have sat in that little bubble, and it would have been fine. Yet you've got that. Now, we can talk about the entrepreneur spirit, but really, wouldn't this be the opposite of the entrepreneur spirit for the moment of, I'm going to leave behind wildly successful to become a clown and make almost nothing?
To do an adventure, yeah, because I had another house at that time, and I was redoing it, which I'm doing right now again at 69 years old. And yes, I could have stayed there and been a successful club owner. I already was at that point, and I was only 26 years old. So, but I wanted something that was in my heart more than anything else. So I gave it all up. I sold the clubs, I closed the coin shop, put a bunch of money in safe deposit boxes, put some in my 61 Thunderbird convertible to be able to vest pocket deal all over the country to be able to survive. And I took off for a place called Venice, Florida, which I had no dream of where that was or anything. An Okie like me at that point. I'd been a few places, but never that far south.
And for anybody who's listening that is just only in this generation, I mean, let's just look at this idea for a second. It's not an online application. It is you got it in the mail, you had to fill it out, send it back in the mail, wait for a response in the mail. That right there is almost 2 months just in and of itself.
Absolutely.
And then you're driving to the middle of nowhere, Florida. I've been around the Venice area. We're not exactly talking about a big town hotbed.
Like Miami.
Yeah, it's you're grabbing an atlas, you're grabbing some road maps, and just sending yourself out there and hoping for the best. You know, no idea what lies in between 2 points.
No, looking for those dreams. Even when I got in Sarasota, I saw buildings, because Sarasota used to be where the circus was based. And Venice is 14 miles from Sarasota. And the hotel, Ringling Hotel, and all the places there I had seen in books. And so my dreams were like expectations of the circus the way it was in the 30s and 40s. And then I found out I had to go 14 miles more. I go where the sign says it, down a little road, around a curve. And I didn't see where Ringling Winter Quarters was. I saw a little airport. I stopped, And they asked, and they said, "Yeah, you just passed it." And I said, "Where?" And it was a hangar. It was like an old hangar from Ringling days that they used to paint the trains. That was winter quarters of the day in 1972.
Now, 7 years on the road with Ringling. And in those 7 years, at the time, you're riding the rails then, aren't you?
Lived in a train. Again, discipline and different things in the circus made my life later so much different. About people. I worked with people from all over the world. And at that time, mostly communists that was working for us. But it didn't matter. People were people. It didn't matter what they were. They were just like my brothers and sisters. I lived in a room 4 feet wide and 6 feet long. Window didn't open. Every bed pushed into the wall. You got to eat in a pie car, which was one of the train cars that had the restaurant where you could have breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you wanted. And that was your whole life. There was 2 Donegers, which the people out there probably don't know. Most people don't know what a Doneger is. It's the bathroom on a train. There was 2 on each car, but one that I was on hadn't been working for like 15 years. So we had one for 29 people. No showers. Now, it's a whole different world today.
Right.
I mean, today they have their own rooms. They have their own Donegers or bathroom. They have computers, everything. We had no communications, no phones, of course.
And I'm not really going to touch on this hot button because there are people who will debate A, there are people who will debate B, which is animal safety in the circus. But I will say this. At the time that you were touring, I'm pretty sure the elephants were treated far better than the human beings.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I'm little. I always was little, and circus people are about my size, 5'6", and but I've always been a rebel, and that's probably part of how you succeed. If you're a little against everybody else, you do it different. And I don't like to be pushed around. But the circus, so I would complain about things that most people wouldn't. And so one of the reasons when I finally did leave was they treated us worse than the animals. Yes, the animals were their livelihood. I mean, I've never understood why all the organizations complain and everything, because most of the animals were just incredibly. I mean, they get spankings every once in a while, but I spank my kids too, and I'm proud of it. So they're good kids because of it. And it's all changed. Everything's changed in the world, of course. But
now you moved from Ringling Brothers. We're going to talk about the next big jump, Ronald.
Okay, well, and that happened because of Ringling. I'd bought a ranch here called Misty Place, which was right across from Wayne Newton's. And behind my 4.5 acres was nothing, all the way to Boulder Highway. And that was a TV station, it's Fox 5 now, but it was the old Channel 5. And so it was a long ways of nothing. And so I bought that ranch with a lady that I met, an actress long ago. And so it was a place to come, and I'd been paying for it for several years, and so I didn't want to go back to Oklahoma because I had finally seen everything in this country, a lot, and I saw a lot more potential with a lot of things. So when I left, I decided I'd come to Vegas, and I brought a lot of people with me. Again, I've always been dreaming, and I wanted to have a rock and roll band. I had a band when I was young called the Echoes when I was 16, and even recorded a song called Nervous Guitar in Grand Prairie, Texas. But I wanted to start a band called Clown Jam, and I'd already written some songs for it, and I had an album cover, and I had several people. I took 12 clowns with me. I brought 6 back to Vegas with me. After we toured Miami and a few other places that we liked. And here we came. Well, we got here, and the thing about being Ringling or any big show like that is all of a sudden when it's over, you still feel like you're a star. Stars came to see us. I mean, that's how big this circus is and stuff. But you got here, and all of a sudden you're a regular person, just like he was talking to. We're all regular people. And egos get in the way of most people and their achievements. But so we got here, and I looked around, and I thought, well, what are we going to do? We have to make a living. Because I was the first clown in this city. There was no other clowns. And I had to create the business here. So I started, after we looked around and there wasn't nobody, helicopters wasn't coming over a misty place going, oh my goodness, look, Earl Chaney's down there and Bob Casanova and Bill Vaughn and all these people.
And now at this time, Vegas is a much smaller town than you think of it nowadays. I mean, when you think of the Vegas Strip then, you're talking about what, 4 or 5 properties total?
It was, well, there was more than 5 properties, but all of them are gone.
Right.
The Sahara, building-wise, is about the only thing that's still there that was there. All of them are gone. But, yeah, it was a much, much smaller town, and I liked it. I mean, It really was a great town. And so we looked around, and there wasn't anything going on. All of a sudden, some of the guys started leaving me. Having a band is not easy to keep together anyway. So Bob Casanova and all these, and Antonio Hoyes, which works with Kevin James today, illusionist, a little guy. We were there looking what to do next to eat. My money had started dwindling down to nothing. So I wrote a TV show. I built the props, and I convinced the Hernsteds that owned Channel 5 at that time to sponsor the show, because everything was changing then too. You had to go out, all of a sudden you had to go out and do your own buying of sponsors. And to have a TV kids show called Mr. Clown's Clown Alley. And I did it. I put it together and took it to Channel 5, and they decided to take it. And McDonald's saw it and was going to sponsor it. And they called me and said, we're talking about sponsoring your show, but we'd also like to know if you'd like to be Ronald McDonald or audition for Ronald. And I went, I've never said no to anything. Really, not to anything. If you can do it, I will try it. And so I did. I said yes. And we went to a little day nursery here, and the suits came in from Oak Brook, Chicago, and I did a show, a little 20-minute show, and I walked out as Ronald, and the rest was history.
And this is actually also fascinating when you look at how much the world has changed in the respect that nowadays, if you're going to audition for somebody like that, odds are they're going to look at a video, they're going to sit in a room, they're never actually going to even talk to you.
True.
In this case, this was a time when these executives flew in. Their plan was probably, I would guess, fly in that morning, fly out that night. Right. Or, I mean, it was still Vegas. Fly in that morning, fly out the next morning because they were going to check out some of the nightlife. You know, being here in Vegas did have that advantage that people would want to come to see you because they get to see Vegas. But, I mean, you really had that opportunity. But as much as it's an opportunity, you also had one shot.
One shot. I wasn't really nervous about it because I had worked in front of so many millions of people. So I thought, well, you know, it is a shot, so why not take it? And because circus had gotten where they don't want, just like Cirque here, they don't want center ring clowns. They don't want anybody to be a real star. Lou Jacobs, 60 years on the Ringling Show, was the biggest face known person in the world of circus as a clown. Emmett Kelly too, but so I thought, yeah, I'll do it, and so I did it, and I got the job before I walked out because I had the skills and the clowning background. I was the first real Ringling clown to ever work for McDonald's, and from that and a little 4x6 stage that I had in those days, and struggling, I built that to having my own bodyguards and my own workers and assistants and driver, and I started doing commercials, TV nationwide.
And of course you trained a bunch of other Ronalds as well.
And I trained a lot of Ronalds and got a lot of guys out there that's somewhere in this radio land that, I got them their jobs, and some of them are still doing it.
And really, now, you breezed over this sentence, but it's a really powerful and important sentence. When somebody gave you an opportunity, you jumped on it. You said yes, and you just went with it. Still working today. Doing movie stuff, extra scenes, still doing some clowning, still working lectures.
Yeah.
Is there any... And I don't mean this in kind of that smart Alex sort of way, but I'm serious about this question. Is there a job that you haven't tried that you've wanted to do?
No, and that's not ego either. It's just not. I'm an Okie that started working when I was 11 years old, and I believe your hands are your gift. And the smarts you can get through schooling and books and things, but if you can do it with your hands one way or the other, I think you can be successful at anything. And why say no to an opportunity? Most people do it out of fear. It really is fear. They're just the fear of unknown, of what happens if they don't like me. Like you said, movie work. I've done 30 major motion pictures and TV shows. And
now, before we go to break, I want to talk about one more thing. Because, now, mind you, you've played the Garden. You've traveled the country. You've been Ronald. You've done a private show upon private show for all different people. But I think this one topic is really fascinating. You bought your house here in Vegas. Let's just talk about you buying your house for a second.
Okay. I always thought that it was the thing to do. I mean, I think you're taught through your life that you have to get a Social Security card, get out there and work. You have to have a mortgage forever. I don't believe that. I think, and I've told all the entertainers I know that want to listen, that if you have a shot, and if you have one period where you're going to make some money, then take that and buy something. It doesn't matter what it is. Like you said earlier too, you don't have to have a $20 million house, and I certainly know people that do, but get a place and pay for it. Take every penny you can and pay for it. I was looking for a place, and I found a place here in town, and I made a deal, because at that point, again, an entertainer, you don't have all kinds of credit ratings and everything, because you pay cash with everything. That's the way you're usually paid. And so I made a deal to be able to buy it, lease option first year, and then I made a big down payment, and I paid it off in 44 payments, which was a lot of money in those days every month. But I sat in my closet in my safe and with a piece of paper, and I'd watch that go down till I've got 23 more payments, and I own this place, and I've got 10 more, and now next month I own it, and I bought it and paid for it.
And that was kind of and you sacrificed a little bit for that too, but you knew if you sacrificed in the short term, you'd always have that no matter what.
They can't take it away from me. I will not be in the street with a sign saying, "We'll clown for work." I have lots of dear friends that have lost it all. And again, I mean, you don't have to know who they are. Nobody does, but everybody that's hurting does know. And so if they would have gone a different direction and at least bought something and paid for it, nobody can kick you out. As long as you pay the taxes on the house, you've got a place to live. I'm redoing my whole place now. I'm 69, 70. When I turn 70 in March next year, I'm going to have a big open house for everybody that wants to come and where I can show them all the stuff and all the stuff I remodel. So
We're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to come back. William Arundel is going to join us along with Earl Chaney. Hello, Las Vegas. This is Kevin Lepine with Hypnosis Unleashed over at the Hooters Casino Hotel, Tuesday through Sunday nights at 8 p.m. This 21 and over show is your chance to get hypnotized or watch your friends do the craziest things. Las Vegas Magazine called it as racy as it is charming. This show is guaranteed to make you laugh till you cry and allow you to live your dream. Come and join us every Tuesday through Sunday night.
Tuesday nights are too fast for T-Bone Tuesdays at Gene Wood's Racing Experience. That's right. It's time to go racing. Go-kart racing, that is. Come out and rub fenders with the Jelly Girls and take out the Jelly Cruise 7 to 9 p.m. every Tuesday night. Win great prizes and see if you can make it to the championship race. Mention this ad and get $5 off your racing experience. This fast course has bank corners, hairpin turns, and the fastest cars in town. The Gene Wood's Racing Experience is located at 121 East Sunset Road, just across the street from the airport runway. The Jelly Crew is waiting to take you on. And just remember, do you have the need for speed? Well, then feed your need at Gene Wood's Racing Experience.
This is Kevin Lepine with Live Unleashed every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Come and join us for an hour of learning how to live your life unleashed, free from negativity. Learn about local events that are happening, hear interviews with local celebrities, as well as how people have accomplished their dreams and have left behind negative behavior to live the life they want to live. Every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m., join me and therapist William Arundel for an hour of living unleashed.
And now, another film rental discovery.
Welcome to the Indie Film Minute. Roger is a man of intelligence and verbal acuity. As a child, his sister called him Roger Dodger for his mental abilities and the sharp wit that consistently got him into and out of trouble. Roger's in advertising. He makes it his job to make people feel miserable about themselves, their cars, and the clothes they wear. No one buys feeling good about their current condition, he says. I make them realize how miserable they are. His girlfriend and boss is his mental equal, but their affair is now over on her terms. Not something that Roger is used to. Roger's conflicted 16-year-old nephew, Nick, a young Jesse Eisenberg, shows up, having heard that his uncle is a ladies' man. Eager to become a man, Nick asks questions only a man can answer. Roger as mentor is scary to behold, as he takes Nick out on the town with moral turpitude as a goal and a black heart to share. Roger Dodger is a tightly woven social satire with intricate dialogue and cynical observation of the game between the sexes. Men will blanch and women will be furious with Roger, but this cautionary tale of a despicable man is rewarding as wry and honest observation. Indie Film Minute. Not in theaters. Discovery through rental.
Find us on the web at indiefilmminute.com.
Welcome back to Live Unleashed. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Kevin Lepine. We have Earl Chaney in the studio. And joining us now from New Orleans is, of course, my co-host, William Arundel. Will, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here. I think, Kev, you pulled a little bit of an interesting trick on me today, because you told me we were interviewing Earl Chaney, and I had no idea that he was actually Ronald McDonald. So I'm having a little moment sitting here thinking I'm about to talk to Ronald McDonald. But, Earl, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Well, you too.
I want to ask you a question. Why didn't you you said from the time that you were 6 you wanted to become a clown. Why not 16? Why did you wait till 26?
Well, I had a family, and
Yeah.
and through fate, because you really can't take a family on a ringling show. I was divorced in 1968, and so it really gave me the opportunity, because with that application, if I'd have said I was married and had 3 kids, I would have been rejected and would have lost a dream that way. Because so timing is everything in everything, I believe. I was lucky, not lucky that I was divorced, because I didn't want that to happen. I love my kids very much, but because there's no room for the families on the ringling show. So in that 4x6 room, I couldn't have been able to have anything.
And here's kind of a strange question, because nowadays, if you're 6 years old and you want to be a clown, you can find somebody in just about any town you're in and start learning. You didn't really have that option at 6, 8, or even 10, did you?
No. There was a man that was a dear friend of mine called Ho-Ho the Clown. And he was a local celebrity that had a show for 26 years in Oklahoma City. So he inspired me too, but most of mine was through books and things that I had seen. I still have them, clippings of all the famous ringling people, Lou Jacobs, Emmett, and Felix Adler, and on and on and on.
And for those of you not familiar, books are like the internet, but written on trees.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
And I really think that they're good to read. I'm at the library every single week.
You know, this was one of the greatest both business secrets and performing secrets that I was ever told. Somebody once said, and whether it's great business advice or performing advice, if you want to keep something a secret, put it in the middle of a book. No one will ever find it.
Which was probably true.
And so Earl, you always really had a lot of drive, because we talk on this show about drive being a major part of that success. Did you all, and you started starting up clubs at 16. Did you always feel like you had that drive?
Yeah, I really did. I mean, even as a little one, at 6, 7 years old, I had a makeup kit, putting on makeup, and I won my first contest at a Hot Point appliance company in Oklahoma City. I won a sailboat for doing a makeup for Halloween, but mine was a real makeup, and I was, of course, in a clown outfit. But the first thing I ever did, house door to door, was sell Watkins vanilla extract. All those things for people my age. I mean, you know, everybody did things like that. They don't do it today. You're not going to see any kid out there going door to door. No, they're with everybody's, and I'm not knocking it, but everybody's with signs begging for it on the street corners. That's not the way we did it then. We had to work, and I picked cotton when I was young. You know, I did a lot of different gigs, or that I call them all gigs.
How old were you when you had your first job? The first time somebody paid you to do any sort of work?
I was about 14 when I started washing dishes in a restaurant. And then by 15, I was running a restaurant, which was like prior McDonald's deal where they walked up 15-cent hamburgers. And so I was a short order cook. When I met my wife, my first wife, Carol, I was washing dishes in one place for 75 cents an hour. I went to another one, restaurant called Woods Cafe, and got a job for $1.25 an hour by being a short order cook, to where I could get married. Years later, again, just all those different relationships and things, I bought the building from Mr. Woods to put in one of my last clubs called the Blind Lemon, which was from New Orleans. Blind Lemon was a saxophone player, and a well-known saxophone player in New Orleans. And so all those relationships, you know, but I liked working, you know, and I worked construction. I was a carpenter for 9 years.
And I know that, you know, I mean, I remember my first job, I was about 12, sweeping up in a pharmacy. I mean, Will, God, you've been working since you were a kid.
14?
I mean, yeah. And, you know, and I would say that, you know, one of the traits the three of us share is we were never afraid to go out there and do whatever we had to do.
True. I mean, it doesn't matter what, if you're behind the elephants sweeping, it's still a job. And a lot of those times, those pooper scooper guys in the circus, they were getting more attention than the clowns. So no. I respect and like everybody, from the shovelers right up to the people that own the companies.
It's never just a job. If you have a job, that is something to be proud of.
And what you just said there, it wasn't every job I had. And now, I don't know if this is a mind thing that I had or what, but every job, even Ringling, even McDonald's, every job I had, I always thought of how I could end up owning it. I didn't want just to be a hamburger guy flipping hamburgers. I wanted to own the restaurant. So
you were a little bit of a dreamer then.
Yeah, I still am. I'm dreaming that I can live for another 6-7 decade or whatever. Of redoing my house for my old age. So I'm still a dreamer. I'm not young, but at all of our meetings that we all get together, I'm probably one of the older guys there. But I feel like I'm part of the group. I just don't feel like I aged. My oldest son is 52, and he looks older than I do.
Yeah, but when you're out doing what you're passionate about, I don't know. This is a personal theory. If you are doing what you're passionate about, then in your heart and mind, I don't think you get older than when you first started living that passion, in the respect that you still have that invigoration, that desire to keep going.
Because it's never a job. If you have the passion, it can't be a job. I owned Planet Mirth here for years, which was one of the biggest magic shops in the country. And Planet Mirth was a passion because I didn't have to do it. I was doing Ronald and everything else when I had the magic business. But I enjoyed all the people so much. I mean, every time I go to the magic meetings or any lecture I do anywhere in the world, they always say, why isn't Planet Mirth still open? I had 6,600 square feet here in town of magic and illusions, and that's what it was. It was a big illusion, but I enjoyed the people. The only reason that I don't really care that I closed 6 years ago, but it was only I miss the people. I don't miss the work that I had. Sundays I had to work harder when I was the day off than I did all week just to get more stuff. But I missed all those people coming in and seeing me.
Now,
speaking of things missing, Earl, what is it that you think that you went through in childhood that you think is missing today?
In childhood?
Yeah.
Well, I talked about a little bit discipline.
Discipline.
I don't think there should be a law that you can't spank your kids. I don't believe that you should beat them up or hurt anybody, but you can't spank a kid because he's got a cell phone in his hand that you bought him, that he can call the police, and he dares you to do something to him. I mean, that we've lost all that. I mean, we've lost that, the work ethic.
Work ethic.
Because the kid or everybody, they want a job now that's going to pay the biggest money that there is, or they don't even want to think about it. And that's not the way things work. I went on the Ringling show, as we were talking early. I didn't say how much. I left a lot of money to work as hard as I did on the Ringling show for $107 a week. That's how much. We figured it down once. It was like 75 cents a show or something, that we were making. I mean,
wow.
It was the passion again of what I wanted to do, which took me to different levels later and bigger and better things. Every time I left anything, when I left McDonald's, I left to go to do more movies because I wanted to do more movie work, and I got to do some things with some big stars that I wanted to do because of the passion, not because of the money that I was going to make. Because I was leaving some pretty doggone good change with McDonald's and Mr. Clown doing everything. So we've lost a lot. It's changing times, which is everybody always says the good old days, where nothing's like the old days. True, but why can't it be? Again, there's the dreamer.
And if you want to accomplish something, you need that discipline to move forward. Now, we've been going a little bit over, but I know there was a topic you wanted to talk to on the physical side of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to talk real quickly about depression, and specifically about depression in men. One of the things I'm concerned with is often men aren't diagnosed with depression as much as women, but we know that it occurs as much in men. So I want to talk just a little bit about the symptoms in men, a little bit how they're different, a little bit about what you can do about it. And the first thing is depression isn't feeling sad once in a while. It's a depressed mood most of the day. It's a loss of interest in pleasurable activities that last for 2 weeks or more. Sometimes in men what's different is that you can see an over-focus on a hobby, and an over-focus on work. And so you'll see them actually working harder as they get more depressed sometimes. You see weight loss, insomnia. And insomnia isn't waking up in the middle of the night. It's waking up for more than 20 minutes. Or hypersomnia, which is sleeping more than you should be. And what happens there is as you sleep more, you will feel better, but when you get up, there's a loss of energy. You don't feel as good. So it sleeps longer and longer and longer. And there is a point in adult males, not so much teenagers, who sleep a very long time, but there is a point after sometimes 7.5, 8.5 hours that sleeping can be a little bit counterproductive, especially if you've gotten that amount of sleep before, and then it'll cause the insomnia. It's feelings of worthlessness. And in men, this shows up as anger and irritability. A lot of times because when they go to the things that they normally would do to feel better, maybe it's work on the house, maybe it's playing video games, they won't get anything out of it. And they won't get as much out of their work or whatever they do. And so what happens is the coping skills start to fail. And in men, they become angry. And sometimes that causes them to work even harder. You get decrease in concentration, you get aches and pains, recurrent thoughts of dying. Anxiety and depression go together a lot, and men tend to hide that. And so what happens, they hide it, and then they don't talk about the anxiety, and then that causes them to become angrier and angrier. What this all starts to show is a decreased time where they're irritable and feeling like they can't get anything done. And we know that depression occurs more in older males because a lot of chemicals like dopamine, the chemical of reward, drops over time, and it drops 3% every 10 years. But the main thing with depression is this chemical called serotonin. It's the chemical of possibility. And so what the problem is that when you have a serotonin drop, you don't feel like anything is possible. And you start to struggle with, even when things are put in front of you, you have issues. Symptoms of depression can be caused by a lot of things, thyroid issues, vitamin deficiencies. One of the things I'd like to say is that, it's tough to be anxious when you're grateful. Well, what you can do to find help is you can go to helpneworleans.com to find out about this. And definitely if you think you're experiencing some problems, check with your physician or especially a psychiatrist or a therapist. And you might be able to find some help that way. Any questions, Kev?
No, and if you want more information on any of the stuff that Will talks about, make sure to check out his website, which is helpneworleans.com. He's a social worker down there. He's done amazing, amazing things, and hell, he's put up with my friendship for well over 20 years, which shows just how brilliant and patient he really is. I'd like to thank everybody for listening. If you have any questions, email us anytime at info@vegashypnosisshow.com. The website again is vegashypnosisshow.com. Will's website is helpneworleans.com. I would like to thank my guest Earl Chaney for a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Thank you for coming in.
And thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. We will see you
Thank you,
guys
Earl.
next week. Have a great one and live unleashed.